Good evening, everyone. Good to be here with you again tonight. Kind of an unusual night for us tonight. Um, as you may notice, Ellen may not be with us tonight. She's got a friend experiencing some difficulty, and she's really involved with that right now. So she may not be able to join us tonight. Um, I am thankful that we have Miss Sandra Ramirez as our mod tonight. Really appreciate her willingness to do that, particularly on sometimes short notice. And would ask everyone, don't forget to leave a tip when you heading out the door. Really appreciate you all being here. Now, as I mentioned, it'd been kind of a difficult day or even week, and that's because we have a very dear friend who's a supporter of this channel that has had some difficulties this week. Her name's Secret, and many of you may be familiar with it or with her, or even been privileged to know her on some level. Well, she is run into some difficulties, and there has been a page started, a Just Giving page, a crowdfunding page to help raise some money to help her cover expenses. She has been diagnosed with cancer and unable to really take care of herself, her house, get groceries, cook, take care of her parrots. And so we've started a little fundraising page for her. And I put the link in the comments. Here it is. And looking to try to raise, she's in the United Kingdom, and we're looking to try to raise 10,000 pounds for her. So she's been in the hospital quite a lot and just had a difficult time. She is a dear soul, a very, very sweet soul, and would just ask if you haven't already, that you could hit that link in the comments and dive over there and just make a little gift. $5, $10, $5, 10 pounds, whatever you can would be greatly appreciated. I promise you it's going to a good cause. And, if you would just keep Secret in your thoughts, your prayers, send her good vibes, whatever you believe in. But she is a dear soul, and we want her healthy and back soon. Hope everyone else is had a good week. My week work-wise has been pretty good. I've only got a week left in classes and then out for the summer. So this is getting to be like my favorite time of the year. Spring's turning here. It's beautiful. So doing well. Ellen is doing well, other than the stress of having a friend in distress. But we're going to go ahead and go with the show, even though our best looking mod won't be here tonight. And also, like Sandra said, if you can take that link and share it on your social media, anything we can do to help her is a good thing. All right, tonight we're going to be talking about FTX. Topic that we originally started on some time ago and have continued to highlight and hit there and there. Most of our viewers, I believe, have some understanding of FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried, SBF. I'll refer to him as Sam usually. And, kind of it's an ongoing soap opera. It's a fascinating scenario. Been a lot of it in the media, a lot of discussion of it on some of the LawTube channels, etc. I've covered some of the financial aspects. We'll look at a few more that have been, uncovered or discussed, with the Chief Administrator, John Ray, releasing a new report this week. So the, underlying question also is there, does this really reflect on all of crypto? So there's some some intriguing questions out there, and we'll try to, develop or offer up some answers, some idea. Chunk and Tallulah also still in the corner, reminding me to ask you to hit the like and subscribe buttons, if you will. Let's see if we can't, get this channel to grow a little bit. We're a young channel, only been around a few months, and we appreciate your support greatly. Now let's start off with Sam. I laugh when I look at this picture because I'm like, is this guy really the CEO and developer of a $40 billion corporation? The answer to that was yes, at least temporarily. Now, one interesting thing about Sam is his little pithy quote. He once stated that my goal is to make an impact. And boy, is he living the dream now, because he achieved his goal. Do we congratulate him, send him a little congratulations card or what? But his impact was sizable. Now, thanks to Sam, we were able to watch the spectacular implosion of the renowned crypto broker FTX, which I think now stood for fraudulent transactions. The collapse of the firm really came on the foothills of another collapse, Terra Luna, another big crypto exchange. And it ushered in kind of a type of crypto winter where millions of people lost billions in value. So a pretty significant impact. Now, there are winners and losers in every crisis. The winners for the collapse of Terra and FTX were obviously the crypto skeptics who think, it's nothing more than a glorified Ponzi scheme and won't last. And then Binance, a firm I've repeatedly, stated I would not want to do business with. How's that? It's pretty much a fraud as well. It's a Chinese firm, and it has really benefited from the collapse of FTX because it has picked up almost all of FTX's share of trading. FTX was a large crypto trader, and Binance's share of, for example, Bitcoin, one of the two largest coins, the most prominent, the first coin in some ways, was the first coin, the most prominent in some ways. I'll get it right in a minute. Well, Binance's share rose to 92% of Bitcoin's trading volume, up from about 45% at the beginning of 2022 before FTX failed, at least according to CoinDesk. Now, so you had the couple of winners, the skeptics and Binance. The losers, obviously the investors that saw a huge correction of Bitcoin turn into a crash, falling from a high of 70 in October 21 to roughly 15, 16,000 in December of 22. So quite a drop. I just saw Anonymouse's comment. Sorry I missed last week. I'm sure Clay enjoyed my absence. Absolutely not. I never want to call a supporter of the channel wrong, but you were missed. I understand Saturday night's a little iffy for folks, but it's good to see you. Glad to have you. SBF made bail. Who put up the money? Why is that information not public? Can it be FOIA'd? I don't think you can get it with Freedom of Information Act. I don't know who actually put up the money or where they got it from. We may have some clues in that as we move through tonight. So kind of keep that question in the back of your mind and maybe we'll have an idea. Now, so the losers were obviously the investors. But also, I think more in the long run, that the collapse of FTX cost crypto the support of a relatively strong ally, the Commodity Futures Commission. a body that had been friendly, in fact, supporting and insisting in court that Ether, the crypto of the network Ethereum, was not a security. It was a commodity and should not be regulated as a security, which is what Gensler, the chairman of the SEC, has been pushing for stridently. So they took a very public position contrary to the SEC, and that was a big ally to the free trading and development of crypto. Of course, the SEC would like to strangle a lot of the trading and new development of crypto along with the Federal Reserve because it presents a threat, so to speak, to a lot of their allies and friends. You can issue we'll get into that in a bit. There's just a lot you can do with the blockchain that's more secure, that's cheaper, that's faster than you can do with the current financial system, both in terms of money and with stock. Now, a couple of weeks ago, the CFTC, Commodities Commission, dropped a 74-page bomb on Binance, charging them with numerous violations of federal regulations. It sounded more like a criminal indictment than it did a regulatory compliance issue, actually. But, many of the charges may have some criminality to it. Wouldn't be terribly surprised to see arrest soon. So we might have another huge financial failure to discuss, in addition to FTX and some of the others we'll be discussing. And that is one thing that I've been thinking of is having a feature financial failure every week. There's obviously a number of them in the history of the universe, and seems like people find that kind of interesting. Now, some of them will be a little technical. They involve derivatives and trading, so might have to explain a little bit about what's going on with that, try to keep it clear and cliff notey. But if that's something that y'all would be interested in, let us know. But I digress. FTX. We now have the first interim report from FTX's coroner. FTX is obviously dead. I refer to John Ray, the bankruptcy administrator, as the coroner. And he released an almost epic tome of the individual stupidity resulting in gross corporate malfeasance. Just no other way to put it. You've got a chief airhead in charge and his mindless posse, Carolyn Ellison, Nishad Singh, both who have pleaded guilty to federal charges. Now, keep in mind, good old Sam has pleaded innocent and ignorant of everything, which is terribly interesting, particularly with some of the evidence and information that's been uncovered. Well, John Ray, the coroner, has been, maybe I should just call him the executor, administrator. So much to say here. He's been busy trying to reconstruct or construct, I should say, records and accounts because there's very few records to go on. If you remember his initial statement when he took the office or assuming the position, he said, "I have never seen such a failure of corporate controls and a complete absence of trustworthy financial information as occurred here." And this gentleman has handled several huge bankruptcies over the past 20 years. Enron, for example, which is a company we'll discuss a little later on. He was the administrator for that bankruptcy claim. Now, so he's got some experience, he's got some background, he's seen some stuff, and this is the worst he's ever seen, by far, not even close, which tells you a lot. Now, the new report expounds on that statement in all of its vast, unassuming glory. Ray details the difficulty, the difficulty even identifying assets owned by FTX or controlled by FTX. How perfect is that? You've got a $40 billion company, assets all over the world, and you don't know what's where. You have no idea of all the different stuff you own. You have no record of all the different stuff you own. That's what he's facing with FTX. And, John Ray goes on in his tome to describe, I guess, the approach of the executives. And you'll love this. He describes it as a company, and I quote, a small group of impish post-adolescents who stifled dissent, commingled, and misused corporate and customer funds, lied to third parties about the business, and joked internally about their tendency to lose track of millions of dollars in assets. That's the beauty of it all. They knew they were idiots. They knew they were doing a ridiculously horrible job, and they joked about it because there was so much money thrown around at them. They just didn't care. They didn't care if you or anybody else got screwed. They got theirs. Ray also shows that Sam, who owned 90% of Alameda, the quote-unquote hedge fund. Now, if you remember, we talked about FTX earlier. I described how Alameda got its start working the kimchi premium. Due to the laws in Korea, Bitcoin was selling at a very high premium. And so they could arbitrage that. They could buy it cheap in the US and turn around and sell it for a premium in Korea. Not only did they sell it for a premium, but they dealt in cash. In cash. They would have lines outside their offices of people with bags of cash waiting their turn. And they had relationships with, if I remember correctly, it was like over 200 banks to handle the deposits of the cash. They tried to break it up so they wouldn't be quite so obvious, creating huge flows of cash, which might draw the attention of regulators. Now, why would they be concerned about dealing with large amounts of cash and regulators? Draw your own conclusions. Now, they had some success with the kimchi premium, and I think actually Sam came across that when he was at, I want to say Janus. Was he at Janus first? Janus? I forget which one. But he started out at a proprietary hedge fund, and I think that's where he was first exposed to it, and he left and started up Alameda to exploit it. Well, he turned over control or management of Alameda to Carolyn Ellison, who knew absolutely nothing about finance, business, management, operations, had no experience in it. And she did exactly what you would expect her to do. She flew that plane right into the ground. Couldn't have tried harder to be a fail as a manager or corporation. Couldn't have worked it any better. Now, remember, this whole group, this whole time, were huge supporters of what is known as effective altruism. It's the idea that donations should be made based not on personal interest, but on projects which, quote, are most effective at helping people. Sounds like a, noble goal, but the outworking of it, it just doesn't end up being that noble. And Sam even admitted that this was just bullshit. But was what people he was circulating around, Hollywood, politicians, etc., was just what these people wanted to hear. They ate it up. And there's insight here. What do you want in a financial advisor? Do you want somebody that just whispers sweet little things in your ear and tells you exactly what you want to hear? Or do you want somebody that will look you in the face and tell you the absolute hard truth? Do you want platitudes or do you want performance? You pick. You could say the same thing about politicians, corporate managers, etc. Now, we're currently experiencing what I define or call a war on merit. And if you look at the description of effective altruism, the goal of helping people, Well, that's not a financial performance standard. It actually is a kind of rather vague standard. Who defines helping people? Sustainability sounds like a great thing until you realize the outworking of that is going to produce less food for people to eat. And what's the consequence of people with less food? Starvation. We've seen that as we talked about previously in Sri Lanka. A lot of these goals of the quote unquote Great Reset were implemented, and it was a complete and utter economic, financial, and health disaster all the way around. Now, what helps people more, honestly? Throwing money at projects no one would support otherwise and losing money, or making money and investing it in projects that are in demand? I think it's pretty clear. There is and can be only one goal in investing: to make money. If anything supersedes that goal, don't invest. Don't expect your money back. Just go ahead and make a charitable contribution and be done with it. At least you get a tax deduction. Anything that takes management's eyes off of cash flow is to be avoided. Plain and simple. Generate the cash flows first. Then you can decide what glorious causes you want to support, not the other way around. It First things first. You've got to take care of first things first. If you don't pay attention to your money and what's going on with it, there's a lot of people out there that would be more than glad to relieve you of that responsibility in short order. Now, Ray, in his interim report, provided examples of Sam's lack of focus, ignoring Alameda investing billions in unknown and unprofitable Chinese countries, such as unknown NFT firms like Yuga Labs. Now, let's see here. I'm going to look up, or you can look it up. Come on, Google, don't let me down. There we go. Called the Bored Apes Club. This is one of Yuba Labs, or this is Yuba Labs' product. It's a NFT generator, non-fungible token. And the best way to think of a non-fungible token is a digital and online electronic creation that resembles no other, that's completely unique. Okay? So Caroline, in all her infinite wisdom, invested $50 million in this company when they were issuing new shares, and it had a $4 billion valuation. And here's what an NFT is. See the little pictures of the monkeys? Well, it's kind of the same monkey, but if you'll notice, here it has whiskers. Here it doesn't. Here the mouth is open. Here it's not. Each one of those is a unique picture. That's an NFT. So you buy a unique digital picture, and you may pay $20 to $30 for these things. That's what she sunk $50 million into. Now, as I mentioned, the firm Yuga Labs was valued at $4 billion when it was first issued. Last I checked, it was worth about $99 million. So the $50 million she put in is worth probably $1 million, $2 million. And that's typical of what she did. Had absolutely no idea what the hell she was doing, did no due diligence. She just saw something she liked, threw money at it. Ray also found documents where, They had all these investments and accounts, but they had no records. They had no contracts. They had no reports. And so Ray found documents from Sam and Caroline where Alameda employees were urged to make up numbers for their values, for their assets in their portfolio, because they had no idea. Didn't know how much they put in it, didn't know necessarily what it was worth or what their ownership interest is. So just make something up and throw it in there. That's the quality of the financial statements FTX was producing. Now, Ray also found letters, emails from Sam about Alameda saying it is, quote, this quote, hilariously beyond any threshold of any auditor being able to get even partially through an audit. In describing Alameda as unaudible, he also wrote, we are only able to ballpark what its balances are, let alone something like a complete transaction history. We sometimes find 50 million of assets lying around that we lost track of. Such is life. End quote. Such is life. Finding $50 million of assets they didn't know they lost track of. Such is life. There were over 56 entities in FTX that had zero records. 39 of them used QuickBooks or Google Docs to handle their accounting and record keeping system. People who questioned that system, who thought the company needed to do better, either had their pay cut or were fired. Dissent was simply not tolerated. Certainly wasn't encouraged, and absolutely was not tolerated. So let me pause here, take a few questions. Anonymous. NFTs and much of the crypto is just evidence of too much money chasing some type of store of value. Can't argue that, really. And I would like to think people really aren't chasing some store of value, but there's no really other way to describe it. If you're buying one of these, are you doing it to just help the company out? Like you want to send the executives and let them live in a mansion in Bahama, and you just think that's a good use of your money. I don't think there are many people out there willing to do that. But it just boggles my mind that somebody could buy one of these ape pictures and think years from now it's going to be worth something. I mean, they sell them. I don't really know how many or how much. You obviously can't get good data on it. But, these NFT creators, there are several sites out there and they keep generating them. So somebody's buying them. I wish I had better data, better information. It's just not there.